Good morning, Daniela.
Well, good morning, Charlotte. I'm really excited to do our second chat,
Yeah, me too.
and
Me
we're
too.
going to talk about shamanism. Who are the shamans? What is shamanism? Why we lost it, and why we need it again, right?
Okay. Okay. So this video is going to be 5 hours. No, I'm
It's
joking. There's so much to get in. There's so
gonna
much
be
to
like
share.
Breaking Bad, like 20 episodes in each season and 15 seasons.
Seasons. Yeah, yeah. That's our shamanic chats for the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on Netflix.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Definitely at
Okay.
some point.
Let's start with what is shamanism? Something that I always, when people ask me, I have a different explanation for every person, depending on how I think they understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think it's one of the more difficult questions to answer actually, because it's really hard to define. Um, I've been doing this, I think this is my 16th year now since my training. And yeah, like yourself, it changes for me also. And the reason I think it does that is because it's ever growing, ever developing, ever discovering. So shamanism is, yeah, I think it's a way of life more than anything. Um, I know some places it's described as a religion, because, people don't like the undefinable or the undescribable. They don't like things that don't go into boxes. But I think where it differs from a religion is there's no specific book. It's not particularly dogmatic. God isn't somewhere else. God is inside us, and it is the job to engage with the sacred within. Um, and because we're all individuals, we all do that in slightly different ways. Interestingly, though, I found out recently that in the UK census, I think it's the UK. I don't know if they do England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland separately. But in
Mhm.
one of the most recent censuses, under the religion box, more and more people are putting shamanism. And apparently, it's the fastest growing religion slash non-religion in England and Wales now, which is encouraging. Um, yeah. So does does that answer does that answer really what shamanism is, or am I still skating around the outside of the pond? Um,
I think it's the beginning of an explanation. I think that for me, it's a healing modality, but also like you could almost call it a survival strategy that is based in natural law. It's
y-
not,
yeah,
there's no weird concepts or, like you said, a book or prophets and stuff, it's just like that's how nature works. The water goes into the ground and then it feeds the roots, and that's, yeah,
yeah.
that's how I see it.
It's,
As
I guess, from that perspective, it's animism in practice.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, I think on the tree of religions, animism was the roots, and the practice of animism could be classified as shamanism. That's
Yeah.
my take on it in the most basic sense. Um, what else is it? It's a collection of tools, practices, um, ancient techniques, initiations, all based in animistic belief. Um, I've yet to find a difficulty, problem, challenge in life that shamanism has not helped to answer.
Yeah.
How about
Well, for
you?
me, yeah, I can solve, to me it feels like I can solve any problem in the world. I mean, just for myself and for
Mhm.
people who ask me to do it. No, I
Mm.
can't just like go and force everyone to live a happy life, but I can for myself solve every single problem, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can forget that. I'm so in it every day that it is normal life to me. Yeah,
And how does that
that's
feel
how does that
for
feel?
everyone who doesn't know it yet?
I feel very I feel very blessed actually. Um, I often wonder how people, other people, manage with the way that the world is.
Yeah.
Um, for me, shamanism gives meaning or has
Mhm.
meaning for me, and purpose. And for people who don't have that, the world must seem like a really scary, unpredictable, dangerous and ruined place.
Yeah, totally.
Um, so being able to, I guess this is what we do as shaman, is seeing the sacred in the mundane. And that's
Yeah.
available all day, every day. I mean, there is one particular part of the teaching that says every moment is sacred, therefore every moment is ceremony, therefore every moment is transformational. But on those days where things are tough, I live in England and the clouds grey and the sun's not shining, being able to spot that inspirational, sacred, um, informative thread just on my dog walk,
Yeah.
just like I saw this morning, the signs of spring, the knowledge of renewal, the ever changing and shifting everything always lets me know that nothing is permanent.
Yeah. But there's still order, and that's a natural order, not a constructed order by man, which I
Yeah.
find soothing.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. I was in the garden the other day, just hanging out some washing, doing basic everyday stuff. And I've got an elder bush, an elder tree for the
Yes.
elderberries.
Yeah.
And last time I went out and hung out the washing, which was probably last week because I was away with you in Zurich last week, there was nothing on the bush. And then now there's these little half-inch high buds on the end, and I think, all is well.
Yeah.
All
Hmm.
it all is well. Um,
Hmm.
and those little buds, every year I get the same message, and that is that there's such courage in them. They're
Hmm.
tiny, they're tender, and they're out on the very, very, very edges of the branch, trusting that what they receive will come. And I always
Yeah.
think, yeah, okay, so this is the time of year to step outside the comfort zone, step outside of the wintering.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, be available. Yeah, be available. I enjoy spring. It's yeah, it's not nice to receive the daffodils and the snowdrops
Yeah,
after
absolutely.
yeah, after the winter and all of that time inside.
That's really beautiful. So, who are the shamans? People ask me,
Oh, other
I
than
mean, a
me and
lot of
you?
people, where are the others?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, a
Okay.
lot of people who are not really aware of what shamanism is, they think that it's South American or African, and Europeans are stealing it or stole
Oh,
it.
oh, okay.
Should have a lot to say about that.
Interesting. Interesting. Integrity is a fine line. It is the beginning of the answer. there have been animistic slash um, shamanistic practices in all continents in the world in history.
Yeah.
What's happened within, let's say, within Europe specifically and North America, um, is it's been swapped out for something um, less fitting to what humans require, and that's the inclusion of the soul in our life path. Um, Traditional shamanic societies survive in certain parts of the world. And they survive due to their location mainly. They're off the beaten track. They were in areas that were inaccessible to people like the conquistadors in South America, for example. Um, so some of the practices have continued in isolation for, well, forever up until this day.
Mhm.
Um, And those peoples are still practicing. They're still drumming up the sun. They're still drumming the sun to bed. They're still offering sacrament and ceremony and ritual to the planet. And from their perspective, I think they would say that they are keeping the balance of the earth. So all of our roots are animistic or shamanistic. Um, as far as we are stealing it. Um, I think a historical point is valid here in that our own, as in European peoples, shamanic roots were cut off and burned a long time ago. We were covered by church and state. But when you get past who is supposed to be doing what under the current PC legislation, we all have access to the same pool of energy. So
Yeah.
whether you're a Norse shaman, whether you're a Peruvian shaman, whether you're an Inuit shaman or a Native American, or you're a Sangoma down in South Africa, wherever any of these traditions are based, we all have access to the same pool of information. Um, we're all part of the same consciousness. Hence what I was saying earlier. God isn't outside of us, God is within. And it's the connection to that divine aspect and this pool of knowledge that is distinctly shamanic, I think. Um, I guess the bit to speak to is I was trained in a Peruvian tradition, well, two Peruvian traditions actually, the mountain tradition and the jungle tradition. And the prophecies state that the new shaman will come from the West. The younger brothers and sisters who are potentially responsible for a great deal of damage on the planet have to relearn the old ways and carry the medicine forward in a different way to how it was presented previously. So cultural appropriation is, always a consideration. And I know it's a oh, hot potato, shall we say? But being invited, initiated into a lineage and gifted their teachings is not the same as dressing as a Native American, wearing a feather headdress.
Burning Man
Yeah,
taking drugs
yeah,
on native land.
yeah. The irony. Um, Honestly, people who scream cultural appropriation, in my experience, have caught the woke virus, that this is something that is supposed to be ousted and campaigned against. And oftentimes, when you get into conversations with these people who make these accusations, there's little knowledge of specific tradition, there's little knowledge of history, and this is going to sound a little bit mean, but it's virtue signaling. You know, if
Mhm.
you sit around a fire with um people who hold true knowledge and you ask the appropriate question, you'll be given the appropriate answer. It's not a secret.
Yeah,
Yeah. I need to be
yeah,
careful here because I can go into rants about this stuff because, as you can imagine, and in the 15 years of showing up as myself, I've taken a lot of shit, quite honestly, about
mm,
this. Yeah, just feeling into. I feel people need to focus on what feels right and is correct for them before they go on social media and jump up and down and point the finger. I
of
feel
course.
I feel perfectly grounded in the medicine I've received and the medicine that I share. That said, I don't pretend to be Peruvian. Um, I'm an English woman, you know, and as the prophecies state about the shamans coming from the West, I'm doing what's being asked of me. And that is to share the medicine in a space where it is most needed. Does
Right.
that does that answer your question? Is do you want to add anything to that in your experience?
Um, yeah, I would just say that I believe we all have the shamanic knowledge in
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's a part of our soul. It's how we know how to talk to the trees or the weather or how we can communicate with animals. All of that is here. And the fact that we don't have access to it anymore in, say, Switzerland, where I live, like that, in a lineage, um, it's because powerful institutions took it away from us
Yeah,
and made a
why
lot of
we
money us
yeah,
not having it anymore.
yeah, yeah. So
Still make a lot of money.
yeah. Yeah, and that speaks to why we lost it, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we talk about that, I think I would like to add that um, a lot of not that I know that many shamans, but a lot of shamans are just very normal people on the outside. They ride the bus with you. Um, yeah, drive their car with two dogs in it in traffic jams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not everyone comes with like flowers and feathers and a big show. We're normal people too.
Yeah, yeah. Ordinary people living extraordinary lives is a phrase that spins around in my head. And artifice is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, if you are surrounded by condor feathers in order to do your practice, what's happened to that poor condor? Um, it's actually visited a rescue center in Peru, where they were rescuing the condors because of activities such as that, you know, taking the tail feathers and yeah, negatively affecting. If you could see my little feathers up here in the background, they're not condor, they're pheasant.
Mine are pheasant too.
No way.
I got pheasant, turkey, and buzzard
Yeah,
from Switzerland.
I think I've got crow in there as well and
Oh
possibly
yeah,
something else. Yeah. Yeah.
I forgot to mention the
It's
superstar.
the superstar crow. Um, yeah, I think to sort of round up that sort of section, yeah, we are everyday people, um, blessed with being able to do extraordinary things. And that is because of the kindness and generosity of the shamans who have gone before us. Um, the training that we have that we've undergone, and the commitment and determination to connect with what is within our DNA. And I'm going to say against the odds, um, because it takes courage to walk a different path in the
Right.
societies that we live in.
Yeah.
Um, but it's very, very much worth it.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, you never know. I was writing something the other day that said something along the lines of our fears. We generate so many fears in our head. Will the bills be met at the end of the month? Will we do this? Will this happen? All based in worry. And in actual
Yeah.
fact, fear, it very rarely turns out how our minds think it does,
Mhm.
which actually is quite exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we never really know.
So why did we lose it? What happened?
Oh God, this is probably my most favorite rant of my life for the last 15 years. So I'll apologize for myself in advance on this one. Um, Depending on what you read, um, it depends how people become informed, I think, as to why we lost it. And I've tried to keep that research quite broad. Um, I also know what I've received in teachings, and I know what I've received in my own lived experience, things that I've experienced in the other worlds. I don't think shamanism became phased out through a process of becoming more educated, as some anthropologists would suggest. In the same way that we didn't outgrow matriarchy either for a better system of patriarchy. These things are often quite whitewashed. I'd go as far as to say shamanism was actively suppressed by church and state. Um, right up until right up until the 30s in places like Russia, the shamans were pursued and imprisoned and murdered. And this still goes on in part in South America. You Shipibo shaman from the Upper Salva was murdered only in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So ancient knowledge through a myriad of institutions and systems has been attempted to be stamped out, which is very, very sad and arrogant, actually, that
Mhm.
there's even the thought that something that is within our heritage, within our DNA, within our ancient history can be stamped out simply because it doesn't suit the narrative of where the current powers in the world would have our trajectory head. And um, that gives me hope, actually, because however powerful your institution is, your religion, your state, you can't stamp out that spark of the divine in everybody, however much trillions of dollars you have. So, um, yeah, it's Honestly, I don't like the term they because that could be anyone or anything. But for the ease of conversation, I think they are scared of the power.
Hmm.
I mean, really, who needs church and state when you have the ability within to self-actualize, to self-heal, and there's no need for governance or what would be the word? Um, obscene consumption, which is what our societies are currently based on. And I don't
Yeah.
know if I don't know if this is still the case, but during my training, um, back in about 2008, I was told that there was still the Holy Office of the Inquisition. There was still one office open. So this is from the times of the Spanish Inquisition when they were looking to, murder heretics. So basically, anybody who didn't believe what they believed were to be stamped out. So they had these holy offices of the institution of the Inquisition in various parts of the world. Now, during my training, as I was going to say, in 2008, I was told that there was still an Inquisition office manned by a friar in Lima, in Peru, and that was the last one. Well, it begs the
It's crazy.
question. Yeah, it begs the question, why does the Catholic Church need to keep this office open? What is it that they fear that they need to keep an eye on?
Hmm.
So I think we're given the impression that we lost it. We
Yeah.
didn't. I think it was just pushed to the back of the uh, to the bookcase.
Yeah. Right.
And I
Oh,
think people's attention was directed elsewhere through fear. But in fact, it is still very much alive. And as we said earlier on, it's the fastest growing non-religion in England and Wales at the moment.
nice.
Yeah.
Can you say something about what the consequences were of the loss of shamanism for society, for the world? Like, what are the effects of us losing that access to that power, essentially?
My goodness. You come in with the big questions, huh?
Well, we can twist it around,
No, no, no,
and
no,
then
no,
it's
that's okay. It's just
what will change?
I think it's so it sounds really biased to say that the world is the way it currently is because of the lack of shamanism. That's a really fucking big claim. But in the loss of shamanism, in a general sense, um, there's a loss of connection. And in that loss of connection, there's a loss of reverence.
Mhm.
Reverence for our fellow human beings, reverence for the animals that we live with on the planet, a loss of reverence for the richness of the jungles and the forest and the sea and the mountains, the deserts. And because of that loss of connection and that loss of reverence, people unconsciously treat our planet as they see fit.
Mhm.
Well, if there is no reverence, how do people generally no, I'm going to rephrase that. With a lack of reverence, people sometimes behave inappropriately. Um, I think what doesn't help is um, the materialist scientific view of life, the route that we've been pushed down. ultimately fails to speak to the soul. So if we're disconnected, if we'd lost reverence for the very being that is earth, that sustains all and everything we do, and we have a disconnection from the soul. Mentally, we can't really disconnect from the soul, but there's no conversation in the main. I think that what that does is present us with the shitstorm that we've got.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we're in the 21st century with everything that we've learned and discovered, with history to read and the globe to discover. Why are we still killing each other? Like, what the actual fuck is that about?
Hmm.
And I think we all suffer from our collective forgetting,
Right.
separation, disassociation. You know, we cause damage and pollution and harm.
Yeah.
Whereas if we had the planet at our heart, if we had our families and our brothers and sisters, other human beings at our heart, that we are um, interconnected um,
Hmm.
in this living web that was once known as animism, um, yeah, perhaps hearts would be a lot happier than they currently are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure about that.
yeah, yeah, me too. But the challenge is people have been told for so long that if you can't see it, if you can't touch it, if you can't feel it, you can't eat it, then it's not real.
If you
So,
can't buy it
well,
from
yeah,
somewhere else.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's hard to draw an attention to something that we've been told doesn't exist,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
or that is, you know, these quaint native ways of superstition.
mhm,
Yeah, like I said previously, the arrogance is, I guess, hilarious, really.
mhm. Yeah,
She
and with that
says, not
we're
laughing. Mm.
hilarious but not funny.
No, no.
Well, with that we're actually at the end because we're sliding into the question of why do we need it now?
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so if we know what's wrong because we lost it,
Hmm.
we can finish the thought and turn it around and get
Okay.
an idea of how things could change.
Okay. Okay. So why do we need it now?
Yeah.
I think we've always needed it. There's been a proven 40,000 plus year history of shamanism, its existence. I think it's still with us because it's of us and it works. Um, we need those people, you know, we need those people who've got little nature collections, people who go out and collect sticks and bones and rocks and don't know why.
Mhm,
Um, we need we need those people who live on the edge of the village. We
mhm,
need those ones who are the conscious observers. We need those ones who are, I don't know, maybe even perceived as mad by the medical profession. You know, those who have had near-death experiences, those who have had out-of-body experiences, those who are sensitive, those who have healed themselves and want to help to heal other people. Um, and I guess the real why is because look around you,
mhm.
you know, look around you. at your communities, look around you at countries, look at the state of the world. This is why it worked once for all humankind, and it won't be in the same way as it was historically. Um, but I think shamanism has proven its worth. It has longevity. And as you and I and others can attest, is it gives a grounding in what's right in being a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a good why now?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Excuse me,
I think
scratching my nose.
yeah, it's really obvious that it's to me it's obvious that it's not working. Whatever we're doing as humans on this planet, it's not really working.
Yeah, it's proven itself to be broken now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the division in every area is just becoming bigger, like everywhere. Just everything is divided, everything is um yeah, just estranged
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of anger, aggression, unprocessed grief, violence, frustration, a lot of dead people wandering around because they're not being mourned and sent home appropriately. It's a raging mess, really, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
that last bit could be a full-time job for me for the disincarnate wandering around because nobody's taught them how to die, actually,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah,
maps of where to go. Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with you. And if I could just pull out my conspiratorial tinfoil hat for a moment, I would say that that division is something has lit a fire under it.
mhm.
Division seems more and worse than ever. And whilst we're fighting the other, what time do people have to sit in peace and stillness and ritual and ceremony and speak to God within to find the answer? I would say it's a massive orchestrated distraction from a natural reawakening process that's taking place on the planet.
That's nicely put. That means it's happening with us or without us. And we
Oh,
can go with or kicking or screaming, but
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
going to change somehow.
yeah. I mean, some of the teaching state, we're all going backwards through the eye of the needle right now in this process of rebirth. Some will go with ease and grace, others will go kicking and screaming, like you've just said. But did we have a couple of questions to answer?
Yeah,
Did
now we
did
have two
somebody?
questions to close. It's about place and land. So why do certain places or countries or regions make us feel better? Like when we go somewhere and we're anxious or nervous, or we go somewhere and we immediately feel at peace or at home, is it the energy of the place or is it us and our relationship to that place?
Oh, it's all of those things.
Yeah.
Our job is to understand the why inside, if you like. Yes, definitely place does affect, especially the sensitive people in life. Um, in my experience, that's due to what has taken place on that land previously at whatever layer of depth we're going down. See, the very sensitive person um can have very positive or very negative experiences in such places. What the land's been used for can also affect us. What our soul path is and what we are attuned to Just a really brief example of that. I had a friend who's also worked shamanically, but she was an archaeologist, like in her day job for the British Museum. And we used to go to visit these sites from the perspective of archaeology and shamanism. And her job was always like, "Oh, I'm over here on the side where they had the temple, and it feels like this and this happened." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm over here where they chucked the dead in a ditch. So I'm just going to deal with this while you deal with that." So two people could be on the very same spot. And because of, dependent what your role is as a shaman, in our case, uh, will depend what it is that we're picking up on. Also,
Mhm.
I think astrologically, who we are and where the planets were when we were born and how they progress across the globe or the disc, whether however you see it, um, that will affect in stages of our lives um, which places on the planet are feel like home to us or require our services. We don't really see it as positive or negative places. There are just places. Things are taking place there. Energy is present there. As a shaman, do you have a job there? Or as a person, is it nice to go on holiday there? And I think, I mean, it's quite a complex question, really. But um, the way to work with it is to have a strong connection to your intuition, um, a strong dialogue with that inner voice, because with those things in balance, like head and heart in balance, um, we can navigate whatever terrain it is that we come across. Um, and that's the best compass, really.
Mhm.
Does that answer the question? Do
I
you,
hope so.
yeah, you think?
Yep. Sounds
Was
good.
was there another one?
No, those were two questions combined into one
Ah,
eventually.
oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, so the answer lies in the why and in finding out why do I feel drawn to a place or not? Is it because I have to do work on myself? Is it because I have a story with something that happened here in one way or another?
Hmm.
Or is it the place itself which is looking for a healer, maybe, and asking
Exactly.
me? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and being able to discern which is which, just
Mhm.
it just comes with practice.
Perfect. Well, I think we've reached the end. Um, is there anything you want to say or add, except weeks of more talk, of course,
Yeah,
because we only touched the surface of everything.
yeah, that's the difficulty in these things. And I think it's part of why I jump from one slight topic to the next, trying to cover it. But yeah, I think as we said in the end of the last one, I really am open to questions. Um, yeah, based on anything that's come up today, you can send us a message on the WhatsApp group. I know I don't really get in there much. And the risk of sounding overly Western, I'm actually really busy. Yeah, I'm really busy. Yeah, doing the work.
Yeah.
I'm really busy doing the work. But yeah, questions are really welcome. And yeah, long form conversation is always best. I'm with Joe Rogan on that. 2 and 3 hours of chat usually helps.
Um, can we tease a little bit with the next topic? What's the next topic on our list
Oh,
for Iron Talk?
it's do you know, I think, is it shaman on drugs?
I
It's
think
I
so.
is
Yeah,
it
I
it's
wasn't
I
sure, but I think it's
yeah.
drugs. Yeah.
I think it's shamans on drugs. and also our model. You know
Mhm.
how we share this particular medicine with the template of what I was offered by the Quero in Peru, and
Yeah,
how we need to make the medicine our own to be valid, if you like, and useful to the modern 21st century communities that we live in. So it's one or the other. My God,
yeah.
I've not got the list.
Well, stay tuned. You'll find out. And we're going to talk about both eventually anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we are.
okay.
So I'm going to say goodbye for now, and yeah, I look forward to receiving your questions. And Daniela,
Same here. Goodbye for now and looking forward to next time.
okay, take good care. Bye bye.